So we're back again, and we are looking at Luke chapter 2, 41 through 52. Sort of been chronologically following since the birth of Jesus, his early life, and this brings us to the one of the few passages that we have about really the only one from his adolescence. Which is Luke 2 41 through 52, when Jesus stayed behind in the temple when he was 12 years old. Um, we'll make some notes about context here, but we'll go ahead and read it. And then there's some questions. I'll be asking a lot of questions. So be ready for that. And uh, there's a lot here, of course, and we won't touch on, well, we'll try to touch on all of it, but of course, on any one of these points, we can probably go way more in depth. Um, Bill is reading from his
The Revised Standard Version.
the
Am
complete revised standard,
I?
completely revised
Yeah.
CRSV.
Uh,
I've got the CNIV here.
all
So,
right. Uh, can I start at verse 40?
sure.
And the child grew and became strong, filled with wisdom, and the favor of God was upon him. Now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up according to custom. And when the feast was ended, as they were returning, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem. His parents did not know it. But supposing him to be in the company, they went a day's journey and they sought him among their kinsfolk and acquaintances. And when they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem seeking him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. And when they saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said to him, "Son, why have you treated us so? Behold, your father and I have been looking for you anxiously." And he said to them, "How is it that you sought me? Did you not know that I must be in my father's house?" And they did not understand the saying which he spoke to them. And he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them. And his mother kept all these things in her heart. And Jesus increased in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man.
All right. Well, a observation people make when they read this is frequently is, how could they miss their own son and when they're traveling? And the truth really is, at least if you look at the context here, they weren't being negligent, Mary and Joseph. They would have been traveling in a
Mhm.
kind of like a caravan sort of situation with other relatives and family. So it was natural to assume that he would have been back there with cousins, second cousins, people from that region. They would have been traveling together just for safety and a lot of reasons. So
Other
it's
kids he normally played with.
kids he normally played with. Yeah. So we tend to sometimes forget that Jesus was a,
Mhm.
you know, a,
Well,
a kid
mhm.
and at one point in time, and he had to grow and learn and develop and all those things. Now, how they all fit together with him being, born of the Holy Spirit and all of that and the Messiah, it's kind of a mystery as to the process and we could talk about that, but there is a lot of mystery there as far as how that because it clearly seems like he had the gift of understanding. Um,
Mhm.
he was a gifted child. I mean, that's probably an understatement, but he was also still a child and he was still developing. And it mentions that he was 12 years old. And correct me if I'm wrong, but uh, this probably would have been the first chance he would have gotten to really go into the temple and talk to the teachers, because I think around 12 they go through that. Aren't they considered an
Guru.
adult around
Right.
then? The
Per mitzvah. Bar
bar mitzvah kind of
mitzvah. Yeah.
that 12 years old. Yeah. But I'm only mentioning that just because it specifically mentions that here that he was 12 years old. So you might be wondering why this time he went there, and that could be the reason. It was really his first opportunity because it mentions that they went every year. Um, so he goes in there and I remember sort of being 12 years old. I mean, not that clearly, but and I guess we were all curious when we were younger, but uh, this does seem like it's an unusual thing for a 12-year-old to do, uh, hang out in the temple and ask for a few days and ask the teachers questions. And also they were amazed. It said he was listening to them and asking them questions. And everyone who heard was amazed at his understanding and his answers. So we see that there is definitely something unique already showing up about this young boy. Well, this older boy, young man, almost teenager. Um, but we also should remember that kids today, kids back then grew up faster. I mean, they had more responsibilities. They had more, they did play, they did do those kind of things. But he would have, at this age, he would have been starting to take on some responsibilities with his father's business, carpentry. It would have been expected of him. I know today we kind of have an extended period of adolescence, especially in modern Western societies. We have this. Sometimes it lasts into your 30s, I hear, right? So, not that I would know anything about that, right? But, um, but that's a relatively recent phenomena, like even back in the 1800s. I mean, as recent as that, kids were working. Uh, Unfortunately, in that case, they were working in factories, but back in this day, they were doing agricultural stuff for whatever the family business was. They'd be involved with that. They'd be helping out from a pretty young age. So 12 was definitely old enough to do that sort of thing. So he would have been more mature than a 12-year-old. Most 12-year-olds back then would have been more mature than 12-year-olds that we would see today, you know. And so that's certainly the case. So that's something else to kind of keep in mind. But it notes that they were amazed at at his understanding. So they definitely noticed something about him. Um, so my question is, and this is just kind of a there's no right or wrong answer to this, but you do wonder what was he asking about, you know? And this might be kind of a little bit of a detour here, but I just, what do you think the young Jesus would have been asking the teachers about? Um, and this is important because it also kind of gives us a glimpse into what we, how we see Jesus, of course, like what would he have been asking them about? Of course, the law, right? And have you all ever considered this? What he would have been talking to them about?
I, uh, I'll tell you, when you all were reading, somehow today I saw a reading in Exodus, and really it's common to see that Moses is teaching them what God told him, that if you a man kicks a pregnant woman, and there are many punishment for him. One if she aborts, one if the baby dies, one if she gets hurt, and just a lot of details that certainly I I don't know what does it mean. Yeah, I mean, why is it like that? Certainly, it's different from what we have today. Uh, so maybe he was asking the same questions. And if not, I wish, since uh, since the Holy Spirit is there to maybe answer this question about just all the details that's written in Exodus, Leviticus, just it's very hard to think about or to accept or explain. So maybe he was asking these questions.
That's true. And it should be noted that this habit of asking questions didn't end when he was a child. It didn't end at this age.
Mhm.
If you look at Jesus in the Gospels in his adult life as his ministry, he very rarely gave a direct answer to people. He would usually give a question. And this came up recently, a month or two ago, in one of the sermons at our church, actually, that there are 400 something questions that Jesus asks. And, it's like if you look at the ratio of responses Jesus gives to people versus direct answers, it's like,
Yes.
10 to 1. Um,
Yes.
uh, and in a lot of ways, a question can be a better answer sometimes than just an answer. A question is more engaging, isn't it? It's well, in this case, I do see that it shows a curiosity and it gives us I do see some lessons in here for us, of course, and applications which we'll get to, but um Jesus was an asker of questions as a younger younger man, adolescent uh boy, and as when he was on the road and going from town to town, he was asking questions of his disciples, the people that came up to him, you know, uh, even when somebody addressed him as good teacher, he would say, "Well, why do you call me, why do you call me good?" You know, he would ask all kinds of questions of people. So another question, speaking of questions, he asks his parents a question when they ask him a question, he responds with a question. His mother, Mary, said, "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." And he answers, "Why were you searching for me?" Didn't you know that I would be in my father's house?
Yeah.
And what do we make of that response?
It, it's amazing that he knows or, prophesizing that he is a Messiah and he is uh, God, God's son at age 12. So since his growing up, he knew uh, whom he is and whom he is coming here for.
It
That,
does seem like he has some awareness of that, at least, right? I mean, it's because
Mhm.
we say we pray to God, Heavenly Father, and but that's really based on
Yeah,
Jesus telling us that we can
correct.
do that because back then I don't really see any examples of people in the Old Testament, at least, referring to God as their
Father.
father. Uh, so that's interesting.
But you have to believe that Mary had told him
mm,
that God was his father.
yeah,
Yeah, I can't anyway believe that Mary had not told him of her birth experience.
yeah,
Uh, uh, it would have been such a deep experience for her, so she would have told him how how she had been touched by the power of God and how his father had been touched by the power of God. Um, and that they went to Egypt and came from Egypt to Nazareth. That entire birth story had to have been communicated to him, probably more than once from his mother by the time he was 12.
yeah.
Uh,
I can't imagine him not asking about some, because surely he would have heard something of the, we can't really remember our early years, our early, I can remember being in preschool a little bit, but my main memories were 5 years old. There's very little before that I really, just kind of brief flashes of different things that I can remember from when I was earlier than five. But um, you would think that he would have heard from people or heard different things and asked his mother or father. Um,
he
Yet
would have been,
you see that Mary is still accumulating and adding things to her. I mean, as if to say it's not 100%. She is just all these unusual first timer things keep happening to her and to them, and she keeps putting it all together in her heart.
yeah.
Uh,
he's still a teenager.
yeah. Yes.
Well, that is interesting that you mentioned that uh because in verse 51, I mean we'll talk about the he was obedient to them in a second, but you mentioned that it, the author here says Mary treasured these things in her heart.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, Maggie.
No, 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 at all. We don't see each other, so really it's easy to interrupt. I do it a lot. Uh, I will just go back to questioning. One of the things that Jesus asked the teacher, oh, he said, okay, explain to me, what did David mean by saying, the Lord said to my Lord, sit on my right hand, and so on, so on, so. So how does he call the Lord, which is God, and said to my God? And of course, we know the explanation. I think, how are we still questioning? We talk about it here between Maureen and I. But to them, it was, how is that? And they read it, but I don't think they could ever explain it um, very well, really, to the people, because I don't think they believed it, or they did not see the Messiah yet,
Hmm.
or I don't know if they knew what David meant or not. But that's the only thing came to my mind when you said he repeatedly answered their questions with questions that they couldn't answer. He said, John the Baptist, did it come from heaven or from earth? They couldn't tell, because they don't approve either case. So
Well, that also gave me another thought that you mentioned that maybe he was asking them. I mean, certainly would have been asking them things about the law and different stories in the Old Testament, but he could have been asking them also about what they thought of the Messiah.
yes,
Um, and
Yeah.
that does show kind of amazing. I don't know about you, but if I was a 12-year-old boy, I would have probably been, well, I was at one point, but I would have been
none of us.
yeah, I don't know if it would have been hard to keep that a secret, if your mom tells you you're
Hmm.
Messiah, you know, or if your mom reveals something like that to you, keeping that
You know,
maybe.
when I read this passage, it always strikes me. It seems so harsh. Like Joseph and Mary have been looking for him for 3 days, and when they finally find him, he's like, "Well, why
That's
looking
right.
for me?"
Yeah.
Which is shocking. No,
Yeah.
and then he says, "Like, didn't you know I had to be about my father's business?" Which I think at that time, he's fully aware of his mission. Already, he's aware of his divine mission.
Maybe he's the only one. So
But he also wasn't saying it out of, even though we see, it does kind of seem that way. It does, I mean, it makes note here that he went back and was
Obedient.
obedient. I think some translations say submissive to them.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
like.
So,
Right. I'm not saying he was not an obedient son.
oh yeah,
I know that he was. But it's in that moment,
yeah,
it felt, gosh, it's
Yeah.
like a little bit of a knocks you back. But I think it really puts them on notice, Mary and Joseph, that his life moving forward
It's
is
not normal.
it's not going to be normal. That's right. He's got a mission, a divine mission
yeah.
that he is going to fulfill.
Could you also see in this that he was saying, why are you, why are you worrying so much about, God will take care of me.
Because they are mom and dad.
They're just earthly parents.
Yeah.
And I think we can see that Joseph was still alive when
Yeah.
Jesus was 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of important information that slipped in there that Joseph is still alive at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and we're kind of given that glimpse.
Age 12.
I am kind of, I mean, of course, if any 12-year-old kid, you would assume, especially back then, they would have been obedient to their parents. But I mean, it does say something kind of remarkable about Jesus, that even though he had this awareness of who he was, he was still he still didn't try to go against his well, he still respected his parents.
Mhm. Right.
And you can see it in the first miracle he did when he changed the water into wine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was a little bit early for him, and she came to him and she said they ran out of wine. He said, it's not my time yet. But yet he did it for her sake. She asked him to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah.
He was still willing to help his mom out,
Yes.
Yay.
Yay.
Love that.
Uh, and the very last verse,
Mm.
Jesus grew, and of course this also the verse about John the Baptist too. There's a very similar one. Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. Now, sometimes we read over that, we just kind of like, well, yeah, of course he grew, but and of course he grew in wisdom and experience and normal part of being a human too. But why do you think it says he grew in favor with God? I was kind of when I read that again, I kind of wondered, because how can Jesus of all people, he would have been, didn't he already have God's favor?
I never thought about it, but I don't know. Any thoughts, Bill or William?
Or is that just kind of a
Oh,
saying that, oh, Corey, he grew in faith,
yeah.
but surely it's not because it's in there. I mean, it says he grew in wisdom and stature
Mhm.
and in favor with, I mean,
Yeah.
I can understand he grew in favor with man, with his neighbors and well, yeah, this is Jesus. He's a good kid. He does his chores and takes care of the village. He sweeps the sidewalks and whatever. He's a good citizen. I could tell that. Yeah, I could see that the man part. He grew in favor with man, but I grew in favor with God. I
Yeah.
thought like, well, wouldn't he already?
What does it say? What,
How's that possible?
Mori,
You
Mori,
have to hear. Go ahead.
There is a passage we've heard God say, "This is my son in whom I am well pleased."
Yeah.
So I guess fulfilling God's will on with pleasing God.
Yeah.
I think this goes to uh, support my thinking that uh, Jesus, uh, in the whole, yes, he is all God, but he is all man, and he only knows
the man part.
the things about being God when he absolutely needs to know him. He does not have those powers. He does not have those thoughts. He does not have any of that until he absolutely needs to have them. Um, uh, he is a man. He experiences all of the trials uh, and thoughts and feelings of an ordinary guy, a regular teenager, uh, and just doesn't mess up. He makes choices that would be correct. Uh, so he is in favor with God. Uh, as he grows up, the choices he makes in being a teenager um, are good choices. It makes God proud that Jesus is his son. So yes, it is a favorable thing, and God is indeed pleased with him.
Well, and
Because he's turning out right.
Yeah.
You know, when Jesus says, I had to be about my Father's business, he's talking about the Father.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think he was aware of his divine identity. I really
Yes.
believe that.
I believe that.
And
I believe that too.
fully human. And but how you can join those, it's like a mystery, just a mystery. It's saying the
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah.
I think I understand what Bill means, and I like it really. That God was pleased with him. Anyone who at age 12 who can follow what he was doing, God will be pleased with him. So he grew up till age 12 and above in favor of men, certainly because they liked everything about him, and of God, not because he was surprised that Jesus was good, but like showing us the way young men should grow. So that's all
Mhm.
I think it may be acceptable.
Well, and I mean, it's certainly that's certainly part of. I mean, that's certainly revealed here that he grew up just like,
Hmm.
you know, we would grow up, and
Yes.
that he is an example to follow. And you have this, really in this passage, it's kind of the perfect transition. I mean, you have this tension between
Yeah.
he knows he has an idea of who he is, and he's becoming, boy to man, and um, you really, I mean, it really kind of gives, there's a mystery here, and it really shows it well. That he still had to undergo the same growth process that we did. Um, but at the same, it really shows that whole. I mean, it's impossible really to completely wrap our minds around it, but
Mhm.
Yes.
it presents it in a way in the story that you can kind of really see it, and it's um, fascinating for sure. Uh,
One of the things we love about Christianity is that God, He was not just the God of the Old Testament. He came as a human being, so He can, when we are suffering and we pray, Jesus experienced. He got hungry, cried, and everything as a fully human being. And as you said, fully as a boy, he played, have fun, and just silly stuff. And as a to listen to, so really, as a fully human being growing, he is what we saw that God was pleased with him. And, he uh, he also was obedient to his mom and dad, being responsible, and maybe did a lot of work, and yet he knew he is God and coming for that mission. Uh, so he was following.
very true.
Mhm.
Uh, so I do kind of, well, kind of looking at the applications from this. And you might be wondering, at least in looking at this story, like, well, it is a nice little glimpse into, we without this, we wouldn't have anything between when Jesus came from Egypt when with his parents and went to Nazareth to when he shows up when he's 30 years old, and John the Baptist baptizes him in river, and his ministry begins. This is all we have right here. but I really believe there's more to this than just that. I mean, even though that is important, that it shows that it confirms that he had to undergo all the changes and childhood, transition to being a man from a boy and all the difficulties and growing pains and everything associated with that. Um, but it does give us a model too. Um, I'm struck by some of the things that Jesus says about coming to God with, childlike faith, and part of that is this curiosity and this humility also, and willingness to ask questions and to listen. Um, so I see that as definitely one application of this. Jesus continued, of course, into his adult life, asking questions and um, but having this curiosity and not being he could have been intimidated by the temple and the teachers, and I mean, certainly coming from Nazareth, and if he was just a regular boy, um, but he didn't let that uh, get in the way. Even though he was just probably just eligible to go in to talk to the teachers as a man. He went in there and he hung out and he asked questions and he listened, and I kind of see a little bit of a lesson in that. Um, and also kind of as a side point, but also an important point. God created these. Now, certainly, people abuse hierarchies and authority structures. I mean, we certainly know that, but there is that command in the Old Testament to honor your father and mother. And then even Jesus talks about this and Paul talks about this, dealing with the structures of the world, uh, not remembering that God is, as Jesus says in this, even in this passage, God's mission, God's kingdom is the Father's business is the most important thing, but also he still went back with his parents and was still
Mhm.
obedient to them. Now, certainly, when if and as someone in authority or something tells us to do something that contradicts uh, what God would want for us, that you go with obey God first. But um, there is that whole we're put in this world with these human structure, these authorities and these hierarchies around. I mean, it's all around us, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint one example, but you see it in families with parents and still respecting the parents and the elderly people and of course I guess I don't see myself as in the elderly category yet, but I would hope that I would be respected when I'm elderly at least, but we're kind of put in these I mean it's a topic that comes up throughout the gospels also, with the Roman centurion and this whole concept of authority and it mirroring, it's not the perfect picture of God's authority and the kingdom of God, but it is an earthly sort of reflection, and imperfect, certainly because of sin and all those things. But you know, we're put in these situations, and Jesus really, even as a boy, he does the right thing here. You know, he goes back with his parents, and
Mhm.
he uh he was about his father's business, and he was, you know, fulfilling his mission, but at the same time he was Mary and Joseph's son. Just like we're, you know, we're part of God's kingdom and we're God's children, but also we're um you know
The sons and daughters of God.
yeah. But also, you know, we have roles in this world that we fill, and you know, we're
Mhm.
Mhm.
sons of our parents and parents of our children, and we're plumbers, and well, nobody here's a plumber, but you know, we're IT people and all, you know, we have all these other things that we do, but you know, it's just hard to anyway. I think, you know, if Nathaniel were here, it would be kind of, you know, that's kind of another example. You know, it's in the military and you have these hierarchies and everything, and um so also this there's this something about this command to grow. Um and I see that here in this story. Not just, you know, of course he's a kid and he's growing, but I do see something in the story about our call to grow in our relationship with God. You know, if Jesus was doing, you know, if Jesus was growing in his wisdom and favor with God, I mean, that certainly is true of us. I mean,
Mm.
um,
So it's like as if he's
Well,
sure.
God wants us to grow all the time,
all the time. Yeah. Yeah.
no
Which,
matter
yeah.
our age.
Which I think gets back to the whole receiving the kingdom as a, you know, having the
That's right.
childlike faith mentality. It's acknowledging that you're growing, you know, um it's kind of the opposite of pride. Pride, you know, you're believing you've arrived and you know all the answers, and uh you know, this
I
other,
certainly can look at myself and know that I certainly don't know everything about my faith. Uh, there's so much to learn.
oh yeah. Um and I wanted to ask this kind of question as a kind of a last thing, you know, and I'm kind of struck by the whole Jesus asking his parents this question also, you know,
Mm.
why were you looking for me? Didn't you know that I would be in my father's house? Um, you know, his parents were caught up in, and this is not a knock on them or not, you know, saying they were being negligent or anything like that, but you know, they were in this, they were focused on getting back to Nazareth. And they were in this big caravan with people, and there was a lot going on, and uh you know, I think there's something a little bit um there's just maybe a little bit of irony here in this, or you know, that they lost, uh, you know, they lost track of Jesus and they were looking for him, and they were, you know, kind of caught up in this caravan, you know, kind of getting from A to B, and they lose track of him, and they're anxious about finding him, and uh,
Well, there's safety there with the caravan, and I think there were all was always were always robbers and on the road, and they were one day out only on when they realized that he was gone, and that wasn't too bad. That wasn't too far. And now they're 4 days, the caravan would be 4 days out. And they found him, so it's going to make the how late's it going to make them when they finally leave? Yes, thankfully they have finally found him, and the caravan's 4 days out, and maybe at best, uh, uh, they're gonna be able to leave the next day. Well, how quickly are they going to be able to travel with Jesus? Are they going to be able to make that 4 day trip in 2 days or 3 days? Uh, uh, so is it going to be a total of a 7 day trip for them to catch up with the caravan? They don't know. That could put them at the risk of being caught by robbers. Um, I imagine that would be a scary circumstance.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I guess the group wouldn't have turned around with them. They would have kept going. I mean,
Yeah, well, that was my thought about that.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Maybe they did. It doesn't say that they did not. They said they went back. We don't know
yeah.
if 2 or 10. I mean, I don't know. My question about that incident too is what did he eat and where did he sleep for 3, 4 days? So maybe he had some food with him, but then what? Where did he sleep and so on? So certainly, it's not that any of us know, but yeah,
He was able to manage.
yes.
I don't think you can say, why were you searching for me from the very next statement? Didn't you know I had
Yeah.
to be in my?
Correct.
It's absolute statement
It's a
that
sin.
this is his divine mission, and maybe his mom and dad, his earthly mom and dad, it seems like, I don't know if they were aware or unaware. I don't know, but he was aware.
Yeah.
And I certainly am. I could certainly surmise that it would have been. I mean, even though Mary and Joseph were aware of who Jesus was, even as a boy, they still had to go about life, and they still had to.
Yes.
Joseph still had to do his stoneworking and woodworking and all that, and it wasn't something that.
And I mean, how unimaginable must it be to have a child who is the son of God? It is
Yeah.
just imaginable. What does that mean? What does that mean for him, for you, for
It's not
everyone?
You almost couldn't think about it all the time. I mean, it'd be,
Exactly.
yeah. Well, and I guess the same is true of us, right? I mean, we're part of this kingdom of God, and we have this eternity, and we have all this, that is all true, but we're also living here at the same time, and it's hard to hold all that in. I mean, it's
Yes. You have a goal, a divine goal of being with God someday, but you're down here on earth kind of
hungry or
eking out a living and
yeah.
driving your car and just, that's exactly right.
A lot like being stuck in Nazareth, right? In a way, right?
think about it now, Rick. The Temple 30 it was hustle and bustle and just very busy place. All all, all the 24 hours. So like 13 days are, and maybe some others, not homeless, but some people are just resting in the outside, maybe and still inside the fence or whatever. So I mean, it's acceptable that he managed to eat, managed to rest somewhere, and just continue for 4 days.
Well, being homeless in that day and age was started to say much more acceptable. That's true, but you know, people in the priesthood were more receiving to people um, who did not have a place to go and eat and rest than we have today.
Mhm.
And actually, Magdi, and I mean, in our youth, uh, the churches were considerably more open to taking people in
Yeah.
uh, than they are now.
Yes.
So I think it's reasonable to say, they could have gone to a church, and Jesus could have gone to a church easily and gotten bedding and meals.
Mhm. Yes.
Uh,
Well, I mean, Simeon and Anna were sort of people that were kind of, you got at least with Anna, right? I mean, Anna lived at the temple, but she wasn't a
Mm.
priest, but she was,
Yes.
you had people that were prophets and people that were,
I mean, it would not have been a problem for Jesus to find a place to crash and eat.
That's yes. I I agree. Yes.
and he was probably well mannered, I would assume. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, he was not a cut up.
yeah.
He was neither a cut up nor a troublemaker.
I like the way
Uh,
he did with that he grew up listening to them, being obedient. I like that very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does do a good job of anchoring him back as you have this
Well,
uh, acknowledgement that he is uh, the Son of God, but at the same time, you have this acknowledgement that you have this anchoring back to he was obedient to his parents and still had that humility there, and then also he still had to undergo some growth and all that had to happen before he went out when he was 30 years old when he went out, which I mean a lot of people back then didn't even live to be that long, that old, but um God took God made sure he went at the right time, and there was a growth process, and uh that's also something to think about too, that he had to. And now I'm sure God could have hit the fast forward button and Jesus could have been ready to go when he was 20 or earlier, but he waited till he was 30. Uh, Now you could say maybe like, well, this prophecy and that prophecy had to be fulfilled and the timing had to be right, but um, I'm sure God could have worked it out. I mean, but God wanted him to be a fully formed man of middle. I mean, 30 was kind of middle age back then, right? I mean,
yeah.
it was not
30
considered
was
young.
30 was getting old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and uh, you look at people 30 then, and 30 was 30 was getting over the hill.
Yeah.
Uh, William.
Yeah. I'm past that hill.
It is now in Africa, not in Egypt, but in the real heart of Africa, east of Africa. I remember when I asked that, but that's maybe 25 years ago. They told me the age for people to die is 48.
Mm,
48. So
gosh.
30 is, yeah, it's over the hill.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
Egypt is,
Yeah.
I mean, there's very few people in my family who lived over 60, 65. And
Of course, in
it,
the early days of Genesis, you had to be at least 200 or 300 to be over the hill. So,
oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's-
um, well, I guess that's about it for this. We're going to be starting a new series soon, or we might continue with this. I was thinking of a few different options. Did we mention something? And now this might be a little bit of a ask, but uh did Nathaniel mention something, or it was like a one or two meetings ago? I remember there was some idea for a series that uh I mean, if you think of it, or I could go back and look at the notes, but I think there was some kind of idea for a series that we were going to go down, that we were going to look at, but
What do you have in William and you, Bill? Do you, because any idea is certainly acceptable, likable by us.
Mhm.
well, I can I mean, definitely pray about it, and I'll look back at the notes as to uh what we were talking about. I mean, I had a few ideas for some different themes we could look at, or books. Um, but there's certainly, it's not that there are many options. It's just which road should we go down is the question. And I think I'll have an answer in the next few days, but if you happen to think of anything, make sure to let us know, and any ideas. And
You know, the discussion itself, the thoughts are more important than what's it about because all the reading is good, all the studies are good. It's matter of how much do we dig deep and uh, and try to see the right way of.
uh,
Hello.
um,
Uh,
well, I think
we are
we've done different series. We've had speaking of sleeping, we've had dreams, and we did a series on dreams once, and we our most recent one was, humanity of God. We went through that, and we've looked at individual books. We can there are a lot of different locations, people.
And not to say everyone, Tina, Lauren, everyone really, uh, William and Bill, is there is a difference between a dream and a vision,
Hmm?
or is dreams are
dreams are while we're asleep and visions are while we're awake.
ah
That's
okay,
Dreams are sleepy visions.
yes,
That's right.
that that settled it, yes, because we had the same question here, and that's what Maureen was saying. Dreams are yeah,
But not all dreams are,
yeah.
well, I mean, the dreams mentioned in the Bible, of course, are the important dreams. And that's something I believe too for us. we certainly have dreams that are just you could just say or just are what is it that Ebenezer Scrooge said, a bit of mustard or a
Yeah.
blob of
A
mustard
bit
or
of bad potato.
bad potato or or our subconscious or something something happened to us during the day. And but then there are those dreams that are very uh seems like something God is telling us that come along every now and then.
Mhm.
So
Yes, indeed.
uh
Mhm.
that's my personal belief.
That's very
uh,
good.
Well, we shall try to come up with something worthwhile.
Yeah.
well, and we could, I think it's been a long time since we looked at dreams. I mean, we could look at visions and dreams and that concept, and uh we could visit that. uh and
You like that one?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll let that kind of marinate there and pray on it. And if you get a dream or a vision about something we should talk about, um, there's certainly a wealth of things to talk about and look at. And
I like the topic really because Maureen is aware that relatives or friends in Egypt and maybe someone in Asia, and they see vision, they see dream, and they tell me about, and we see it sometimes happening after the dream. So it or yeah, there is no way for one to know what's the other doing, and he see in a dream. He just strange to say the least. So that's not just a normal dream from like all hours. It's just something mysterious, pretty much. Yeah.
and well, unless yeah, I'm always intrigued by by dreams and but um well, anyway. Um, Bill, if you wish to sign us off, unless we have another anything else we wish to mention about this, but it is a nice one to look at and remind ourselves about Jesus growing up and all that entails of being God and man and following in his example. And But if you wish to do your sign off, we'll join you back next time if you're listening to us here, and we
Well,
will be on a new series. What's that?
may all of us connected and in reach of our connections, uh, live long and prosper.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.